Today we're going to talk about the Fallkniven F1, the official survival knife of the Swedish Army. This comes in a really heavy duty leather sheath, right-handed, with a nice flat closure over the top and a good sturdy belt loop held with 2 rivets at the back here. You can also get it in a kydex sheath option, which you can either have belt mounted or use as a neck knife. The knife itself is made from VG10 steel. The blade is laminated, so it has 2 soft sections and a hard section running through the middle, which makes the knife blade very, very resilient. You can have a very, very hard steel core without the knife being brittle. It has quite a thick blade. It's a 4mm blade, but because it's a convex grind, it thins down to a very, very fine edge very quickly. It has a through tang that goes all the way through the handle, and as you can see, protrudes from the butt at the end here, so the knife can actually be hammered into things if need be. Not necessarily something I'd recommend, but in a survival situation, who knows how you're going to need to use it. So that's the Fallkniven F1. Now let's put it through some tests. Right, so we've done all the tests with our Fallkniven F1, and I've got to say I am seriously impressed with this knife. It performed very, very, very well in the initial carving test, the temp peg. It has no trouble dealing with green wood whatsoever. Although it's a really thick blade, the convex grind allows for a very, very fine edge. When you're using it up near the point, you've got a lot of control because of the thickness of the blade. With your thumbs on the back, doing push cuts, things like that, you've got a nice broad blade to apply pressure to. It's a pleasure to handle. It's a lovely knife for carving. Then we came to the chopping tests, and I mean, the first time I did it, we just had to do it again because it just went through the wood in one go. It's such a solid knife, and with the thickness of the blade, you can give it a good solid crack straight through, no problems at all. As you can see from the second attempt, there wasn't really any difference. It's a very, very solid knife. Again, the same with the splitting. You've got a nice broad blade, so you've got plenty to hit with your batten. Because of the convex grind, it separates the wood away from the edge of the blade very successfully. So you are actually splitting the wood rather than cutting into it. So it's very, very easy to get it clear through the grain. And finally, the feather stick. Now, this is probably the only place where the knife even remotely had any problems. Not because of sharpness. Again, it did a perfectly good feather stick, but because of the convex grind on the blade, it's very difficult to keep the edge against the wood. So the slightest turn of your wrist lifts the edge off and takes your sliver of wood off with it. So it's a little bit tricky to feather stick with, but I'm sure with practice it would get easier. But it's a minor problem. I mean, the knife is bulletproof. It is constructed solidly through and through. Nice grippy handle. Very, very easy to keep clean. If you were to use it to prepare game or anything like that, you'd have no problem going through small bones of small animals such as rabbits and pheasants and that sort of thing. It would handle those with ease, and yet it's not got anything fancy like wood or bone or anything like that on the handle. So you could stick it in a pot of boiling water, give it a good clean after you've dressed game, and you've got a sterile knife again. Very easy to look after. Very, very strong knife. I would highly recommend this knife to anybody. It's a great knife.